For decades, millions of Americans have swallowed their blood pressure pills without a second thought, a daily act of trust in a system that promised safety. But what if that trust has been dangerously misplaced? What if the tiny tablets meant to protect your heart are quietly planting the seeds of cancer inside you? In the past few years alone, federal investigators have flagged 5 widely prescribed blood pressure drugs for containing nitrosamines, chemicals so toxic they were once associated with industrial runoff, now hiding in medicine cabinets across the country. Factories overseas have been caught recycling solvents, falsifying test data, and shipping contaminated batches into U.S. pharmacies. Lawsuits are piling up, recalls are sweeping across states, and regulators admit they still don't know the full scope of exposure. How many Americans have been swallowing these silent threats for years without knowing? And how many lives have already been rewritten at the molecular level before a single warning ever reached them? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're breaking down 5 blood pressure drugs now flagged for cancer-causing impurities and showing you which safe alternatives still exist before the next pill you take becomes a hidden risk. Number 1. Lisinopril plus HCTZ. It's one thing to worry about forgetting your pills. It's another to wonder if the pill in the bottle is even the one you were prescribed. That's the gut punch reality millions of Americans face this summer when Lupin Pharmaceuticals, a multinational drug giant straddling the US and India, was forced to recall 58,968 bottles of its blood pressure combo, Lisinopril plus hydrochlorothiazide, on June 20th, 2025. And this wasn't a typo on the label or a cracked seal. Inside a sealed bottle that should have contained only heart medication lurked an intruder, a powerful HIV drug called ritonavir. Picture an elderly patient, hands shaking slightly from arthritis, swallowing what they believe is their daily dose to keep their blood pressure in check, only to unknowingly ingest a potent antiviral meant for an entirely different disease. That's not a minor incident. That's a pharmaceutical betrayal, like finding a loaded handgun tucked inside your first aid kit. The FDA slapped a Class 2 label on the recall, a bureaucratic way of saying, low chance of serious harm. But when it's your heart on the line, low chance sounds about as reassuring as calling a house fire, mostly contained. The tainted bottles, manufactured at Lupin's Nagpur facility and shipped to pharmacies across America between December 2024 and January 2025, were yanked from shelves once the rogue pill was discovered. Lupin rushed to insist that the risk was remote and that no severe cases had been reported. But try telling that to retirees on fixed incomes who count every pill like they count every penny. Trust isn't built on probability charts, it's built on the simple expectation that the medicine in the bottle is the medicine you were prescribed. And this wasn't some isolated fluke. Lisinopril has been a repeat offender in the Pharmaceutical Hall of Shame. In 2022, more than 222,600 bottles were recalled after metal fragments, actual sharp shards, were found embedded inside the tablets. Remedy, Repack, and Lupin pulled more batches for quality control failures, metal contamination, and labeling disasters. Blue Point Laboratories had its own scandal in 2020, recalling its 10 milligram Lisinopril after dosing errors caused by tablet mix-ups. And rewind further to 2016. Lupin recalled 30 and 40 milligram tablets over contamination. Wockhardt yanked 5 and 20 milligram versions for similar reasons. And the FDA banned 3 plants tied to these companies for breaking sanitation rules, falsifying data, and even destroying records. Imagine a restaurant caught shredding evidence of food poisoning. Now multiply that outrage by 1,000. Because this isn't about a bad meal. It's about the pills keeping America's hearts beating. The courtroom battles have been just as brutal. Merck and several generic manufacturers have faced lawsuits alleging they failed to warn patients about severe risks, like liver damage, kidney failure, hyperkalemia, pregnancy complications, and deadly angioedema, sudden swelling of the throat or lips that can suffocate victims in minutes. Consumer safety groups have logged countless claims from patients seeking justice for catastrophic injuries linked to this drug. Even though the 2025 recall didn't involve nitrosamines or known carcinogens, the word contamination still fits because when a pill bottle holds a foreign drug, the contamination isn't just chemical. It's systemic, rooted in every sloppy inspection, every ignored protocol, every corner cut to protect profit over people. So what are patients supposed to do? Play pharmaceutical roulette every morning with their breakfast? Cardiologist Dr. Karen Mitchell, who's treated thousands of blood pressure patients over 3 decades, offers stark advice. Check every pill before you take it. If the size, color, or imprint looks off, stop and call your pharmacist. If you feel anything unusual, dizziness, swelling, chest pain, seek medical help immediately. And never ignore a recall notice, no matter how small the risk sounds. She also urges patients to talk to their doctors about safer alternatives. Brands like Hikma and Accord manufacture Lisinopril and HCTZ formulations that haven't been swept up in these recall scandals. But as Dr. Mitchell warns, switching brands doesn't erase the deeper betrayal. Once the public learns that a blood pressure pill can hide an HIV drug, no dosage adjustment, no corporate apology, and no press release can restore the trust that was shattered the moment that foreign pill slipped into the bottle. Number 2, Losartan. It was supposed to be the dependable old friend in America's medicine cabinet, the pill millions of seniors swallow every morning with their coffee, trusting it to keep their blood pressure in check. But in the spring of 2019, that trust snapped like a brittle tablet under too much pressure. The FDA dropped a bombshell. 87 lots of Losartan potassium, made by Hetero Labs in India and sold under Camber Pharmaceuticals in the US, were tainted with a chemical that had no place inside the human body, N-nitroso N-methyl-4-aminobutyric acid, or NMBA, a nitrosamine impurity linked to cancer. And this wasn't the usual NDMA or NDEA Americans had already been warned about. This was a new, unexpected nitrosamine one so concerning that its levels exceeded even the FDA's temporary acceptable threshold. The same pill people believed was protecting their hearts was now being uttered in the same breath as a carcinogen. That revelation triggered a chain reaction across the generic drug market. Hetero Labs scrambled to issue a nationwide recall of its 25, 50, and 100 milligram Losartan tablets. But the damage was already snowballing. Torrent Pharmaceuticals soon followed with an even larger recall. 114 more lots pulled, including 36 batches of Losartan and 68 of its combination with hydrochlorothiazide. Every single one traced back to the same contaminated active ingredient. By April 19th, pharmacies nationwide were ordered to halt distribution and yank stock from shelves. Yet patients were told not to stop taking their medication abruptly, a piece of advice that landed like a cruel joke. The message was clear. Keep swallowing the pill that might give you cancer, because quitting it might kill you faster. The FDA's investigation peeled back the curtain on how this happened, and the picture was uglier than anyone wanted to believe. Inside Indian manufacturing plants, sloppy corner-cutting practices had created a perfect storm for nitrosamines to form. Recycled solvents, poorly controlled chemical reactions, and cross-contamination turned production lines into ticking time bombs. In October, the FDA blasted Torrent's facility in a warning letter, citing manufacturing conditions conducive to NMBA formation and demanding tighter quality controls. Torrent wasn't alone. Mylan had already been flagged for violating good manufacturing practices, while Torrent itself had been caught reversing failed test results and exporting out-of-spec batches. And because the pharmaceutical supply chain is as tangled as a bowl of overcooked spaghetti, companies downstream Camber, Sandoz, Teva, Legacy Packaging, Vivimed were dragged into the scandal too when contaminated batches were traced to their distributed drugs. And yet, despite the gravity of the contamination, the FDA reported no confirmed cases of hospitalization, cancer, or death linked directly to the tainted Losartan. Torrent admitted it hadn't received any adverse event reports. Still, regulators urged patients to continue taking their medication until a safe replacement was available. Advice that left many wondering if they were simply choosing the slower of two poisons. For older Americans on fixed incomes, relying on Losartan to prevent strokes and kidney failure, this wasn't a hypothetical debate. It was a terrifying choice. Stop the drug and risk a fatal cardiovascular event, or keep taking it and risk cancer down the road. The scandal didn't just expose flaws in a single pill, it laid bare the fragile underbelly of America's dependence on foreign-made generics. What was once celebrated as an affordable solution now looked like a house of cards built on profit margins and weak oversight. Nitrosamines didn't accidentally sneak into Losartan. They walked right through doors left wide open by years of cost-cutting and regulatory complacency. And the fallout reached far beyond the factory floor. As contaminated lots vanished from pharmacies, shortages spread, prices climbed, and treatment plans unraveled. Time magazine reported how the recalls shattered public confidence, forcing frantic medication switches and flooding clinics with panicked calls. Losartan, once a symbol of reliability, now stood as a monument to betrayal, proof that even the most routine pill could hide a threat as deadly as cancer. So what should patients do when the medicine meant to protect them becomes a potential poison? Cardiologist Dr. Raymond Carter offers blunt advice. Never stop a blood pressure medication without your doctor's supervision, even if it's been recalled. Contact your provider immediately to discuss alternatives and request a different manufacturer if possible. And always check recall alerts, they're your first line of defense. Safer options do exist. Manufacturers like McLeod's, Glenmark, and Aleor have released ARB formulations free from nitrosamine contamination, giving patients a way forward without the looming specter of cancer. But the deeper wound remains. Once you learn the pill meant to guard your heart may have been planting a carcinogen inside you, no reformulation, no corporate apology, and no new label can make you swallow it with the same trust again. Number 3, Spironolactone. It's the kind of headline that makes you want to dump every bottle in your medicine cabinet straight into the trash. On August 5th, 2025, the FDA didn't just issue a recall, it sounded a 5-alarm fire across America's pharmacies. More than 11,328 bottles of spironolactone, 25 milligrams, each containing 100 tablets, were being pulled from shelves after inspectors made a discovery that sounds more like something from a scrapyard than a pharmacy: aluminum. Yes, the same metal used in soda cans and car engines was embedded inside a medication meant to protect fragile hearts. Manufactured by Frontida Biopharm and distributed nationwide by Sun Pharmaceutical Industries, the tainted batch coded P3314 and set to expire on November 30th, 2026, was initially hit with a Class 1 recall, the FDA's highest and most urgent alert, reserved for products that can kill. It was later downgraded to Class 2, but no bureaucratic label change could erase the chilling truth. Countless Americans who thought they were protecting their hearts may have been swallowing metal fragments instead. The FDA warned patients they might notice dark fragments embedded in the tablets, as if someone had sprinkled their prescription with shrapnel. People were told to stop taking the medication immediately, return it to the pharmacy, and contact the distributor. Officially, there were no reported hospitalizations or deaths linked to the contaminated batch. But that's hardly comforting when you know that even trace amounts of aluminum, once inside the body, can accumulate silently over time, damaging kidneys, inflaming tissues, and disrupting the nervous system. It's the kind of slow-motion sabotage that sneaks up on people, especially the elderly, living on fixed incomes who don't have the luxury of skipping or switching medications. It's a cruel twist of fate. The very pill meant to keep their hearts beating may have been planting a ticking time bomb inside them. And this isn't spironolactone's first brush with disaster. Bryant Ranch Prepack previously had to recall 47 bottles after mislabeling the strength. Some marked 50 milligrams actually contained 25, and vice versa. It might sound like a minor printing error, but in cardiology, a wrong dose can turn a managed condition into an emergency room visit. These repeated blunders point to something far more dangerous than isolated mistakes. They reveal a supply chain so focused on cutting costs that safety checks have become an afterthought, treated as optional rather than essential. It's like a mechanic skipping the step of tightening your brake bolts, then acting shocked when the car crashes on the highway. The ripple effects stretched well beyond pharmacy shelves. Stocks for Sun Pharma, Alembic, and Glenmark tumbled as investors panicked over the mounting quality control scandals and the erosion of public trust. Fierce Pharma reported that these Indian manufacturers were already under scrutiny for other recalls tied to carcinogens and foreign matter, and spironolactone once again found itself in the center of the storm. carcinogens, and foreign matter. That's not the language you expect to hear about a prescription drug. And yet here we are, watching multinational pharmaceutical companies treat basic safety protocols like polite suggestions, while older Americans, people who built this country, paid their taxes, and now depend on these medications to stay alive, are left to play Russian roulette with their health. So here's the question every regulator and CEO should have to answer under oath. How does aluminum end up inside a blood pressure pill? Are we really supposed to believe a few metal flakes accidentally slipped in? Or is this the inevitable result of factories shaving pennies off their quality control budgets to pump out more pills faster? When oversight is treated as a cost instead of a duty, risk doesn't just increase, it explodes. And for retirees stretching every Social Security check to afford their prescriptions, the price of that explosion isn't measured in corporate stock losses. It's measured in hospital bills, organ damage, and sleepless nights wondering if the pill meant to save them might be poisoning them instead. If the idea of swallowing aluminum makes your stomach turn, you're not alone, and thankfully, safer choices exist. Manufacturers like Teva, Lupin, and Apotex have spironolactone formulations that haven't been linked to contamination in recent recalls, offering patients a glimmer of hope in an increasingly risky pharmaceutical landscape. But the real damage isn't just in one tainted batch, because once trust is fractured, once patients realize their life-saving medication might come laced with industrial debris, no pill on earth can patch up that kind of betrayal. Number 4, Valsartan. It was once the gold standard, the little white pill that millions of Americans trusted to guard their hearts, keep their blood pressure in check, and buy them more years with their loved ones. But in the summer of 2018, that trust shattered like glass under a hammer. Zhejiang Pharmaceutical Kummerlelwood, ZHP, a massive Chinese manufacturer supplying the active ingredient in Valsartan, admitted that its production process had allowed N-nitrosodimethylamine, NDMA, a chemical the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies as possibly carcinogenic to humans, to contaminate the drug. Overnight, the pill meant to save lives was now associated with cancer, and pharmacies across the United States began frantically pulling Valsartan from their shelves. This wasn't a typo on a label or a bad batch slipping through it, was a systemic failure that transformed a life-saving drug into a potential slow-motion killer. The FDA responded with one of its harshest weapons, an import alert that barred ZHP's Valsartan shipments from entering the United States unless they met strict safety standards. A blistering warning letter on November 29, 2018, painted a damning picture of negligence, sloppy manufacturing, careless handling of materials, weak safeguards against cross-contamination, and failures in documentation. It was an industrial horror story from a company whose ingredients were coursing through the bloodstreams of millions. And ZHP was far from the only culprit. The contamination triggered a domino effect across the pharmaceutical landscape. Teva, Solco Healthcare, Torrent Pharmaceuticals, Mylan, Aurobindo, major pharmaceuticals, and numerous repackagers were forced into recalls after their products tested positive, not just for NDMA, but also for other carcinogenic nitrosamines like N-nitrosodiethylamine, NDEA, and NMBA. Torrent even recalled all its Valsartan formulations, including combinations with amlodipine and hydrochlorothiazide, after discovering NDMA in the active ingredient sourced from ZHP. The legal fallout was just as explosive. By 2025, more than 1,300 lawsuits had been merged into a single multi-district litigation case, MDL 2875 in New Jersey, with the first bellwether trial set for September 2025. Plaintiffs accused ZHP, Teva, Solco, Torrent, Mylan, and others of knowingly distributing contaminated drugs or failing to conduct proper impurity testing. The lawsuits linked prolonged exposure to NDMA and NDEA with liver cancer, colorectal cancer, pancreatic cancer, lymphoma, leukemia, and more. Some even allege that ZHP destroyed or withheld internal testing records, a move legal experts compared to shredding the black box after a plane crash. Yet despite the scale of the scandal, no official death toll or hospitalization count has been directly tied to NDMA and Valsartan. That's because nitrosamines don't kill quickly, they creep, damaging DNA cell by cell over years until cancer develops. This slow-burn nature makes causation difficult to prove and offers manufacturers a convenient shield of deniability. Meanwhile, patients, many elderly and living on fixed incomes, were told to keep taking their medications until safe alternatives were available. It was a brutal irony. Keep swallowing a drug laced with a probable carcinogen or risk a heart attack by stopping abruptly. The rot extended well beyond ZHP. Milan's plant in Andhra Pradesh, India, received its own FDA warning for failing to control production, mishandling materials, and reusing solvents without proper labeling. Torrance Indian facility was cited in a 2019 warning letter for ignoring procedures, mishandling failed batches, and even reversing failing test results before exporting. Investigators found at least 340 substandard batches over 2 years, 73% of which were later reclassified as compliant and shipped anyway. It was as if the industry had rewritten the rulebook, treating safety regulations as loose suggestions instead of laws. This wasn't just about one tainted drug, it was a sobering lesson about the fragility of a global supply chain built on outsourcing and cost-cutting. When contamination infiltrated Valsartan, it didn't just spark recalls, it caused shortages, drove up prices, and disrupted treatment for countless patients. It also shattered public trust in generic drugs, proving that cheaper can sometimes mean riskier. And for many older Americans, that trust may never return. So what can patients do when the medication meant to protect their hearts might be harming them? Cardiologist Dr. Evelyn Harper urges, do not stop any blood pressure medication on your own. Speak to your doctor first. Ask specifically about nitrosamine testing, request products from manufacturers with clean records, and keep up with FDA recall alerts. Safer alternatives exist. Companies like Alembic, Jubilant Cadista, and Par Pharmaceutical have released ARB formulations untainted by nitrosamine recalls. But the bitter truth remains. Once a pill meant to safeguard your heart is found to harbor cancer-linked impurities, no court verdict, corporate apology, or replacement batch can ever fully erase that betrayal. And for those who swallowed those pills for years, one haunting question lingers. What else was hiding inside? Number 5. Irbesartan. It was supposed to be the quiet, dependable workhorse of heart medicine, the pill that doctors prescribed without hesitation and patients swallowed without fear. For decades, Irbesartan helped millions of Americans lower their blood pressure, protect kidneys weakened by diabetes, and shield their hearts from long-term damage. But what once looked like a guardian angel of cardiovascular health has revealed itself as something far more sinister, a Trojan horse sneaking cancer-linked chemicals into the very bodies it was meant to protect. The culprit? Nitrosamines, the same class of carcinogens once associated with polluted industrial runoff, now showing up inside prescription bottles on American nightstands. The unraveling began in January 2019, when the FDA announced a voluntary recall of 1 batch of standalone Irbesartan and 7 batches of its combination with hydrochlorothiazide distributed by Solco Healthcare LLC. The reason was chilling. Tests found N-nitrosodiethylamine, NDEA, a nitrosamine known to cause cancer in lab animals, present above the agency's temporary safety limit of 0.088 parts per million. Just weeks earlier, Sigen Pharmaceuticals had also recalled multiple Irbesartan batches, 75, 150, and 300 milligram strengths after finding the same impurity in its active pharmaceutical ingredient sourced from Aurobindo. Aurobindo itself then pulled back 22 lots of raw Irbesartan, revealing just how fragile and frighteningly interconnected the global drug supply chain had become. Things only grew darker in January 2021, when Lupin Pharmaceuticals triggered a nationwide recall of its Irbesartan and Irbesartan HCTZ tablets after detecting another nitrosamine, N-nitrosodiethylamine, classified as a probable human carcinogen. This wasn't a trace anomaly, it crossed the FDA's safety threshold in multiple batches. Out of an abundance of caution, Lupin went beyond recalling affected lots. It suspended the marketing of all Irbesartan products, even those that hadn't tested positive. The recall notice listed batch numbers, NDC codes, and distribution windows from October 2018 to late 2020, urging pharmacies, distributors, and patients to return the medication. Lupin admitted to receiving 4 illness reports from Irbesartan users between October 2018 and September 2021, none definitively tied to the contamination and none involving the combination version. But nitrosamines don't work like poisons in a crime novel. They don't strike overnight. They slip quietly into the body and sabotage it molecule by molecule, rewriting DNA over years until disease emerges, often long after the evidence trail has gone cold. Investigators digging deeper uncovered a mess far uglier than a few bad batches. Aurobindo, one of the largest suppliers of Irbesartan's raw API, had already recalled materials for NDEA contamination, raising questions about cost-cutting, recycled solvents, and lax quality checks in Indian and Chinese plants. Industry analysts pointed out that Irbesartan, like Losartan and Valsartan, contains a tetrazole ring structure that makes it especially vulnerable to nitrosamine formation under uncontrolled conditions, a vulnerability magnified when profit-driven shortcuts replace strict oversight. What should have been a tightly controlled pharmaceutical process too often resembled a slapdash chemistry experiment on a shoestring budget. On paper, the health fallout looks deceptively mild. No confirmed hospitalizations, cancers, or deaths have been directly tied to nitrosamine-contaminated Irbesartan. But that's little comfort when the threat doesn't strike fast, it festers. Nitrosamines are like an arsonist who burns your house down one match at a time. Patients who've taken these pills for years can't rewind time, and each new contamination report leaves them wondering if their trusted medication has been quietly rewriting their biology. The FDA's advice to keep taking the drug until a safe alternative is available felt like a cruel joke to retirees living on fixed incomes. What choice did they really have? Risk a heart attack by stopping abruptly, or keep ingesting a chemical tied to cancer because the supply chain failed them? It's a dilemma no one, especially those who spent decades working and now rely on these pills to stay alive, should ever have to face. And so Irbesartan joins Losartan and Valsartan as part of what many now call the unholy trinity of ARB scandals, drugs once hailed as miracles now standing as monuments to corporate negligence and betrayal. Lawsuits swirl, investigations grind on, and many pharmacies still grapple with shortages years after the first recalls. Cardiologist Dr. Laura Simmons offers a stark warning. If you're on Irbesartan, talk to your doctor immediately. Ask whether your batch was part of a recall and discuss switching to a formulation from a manufacturer with a clean safety record. And never stop an ARB without medical supervision. The sudden spike in blood pressure can be life-threatening. Thankfully, alternatives from manufacturers like Apotex, Glenmark, and Torrent have not been implicated in recent nitrosamine recalls. But here's the bitter truth. Once a pill meant to lower your blood pressure becomes a source of anxiety every time you swallow it, no reformulation, no apology, and no new batch can fully rebuild the trust that's been poisoned. Trust, once tainted, doesn't dissolve as easily as a tablet on the tongue. Your health deserves the truth. Subscribe now and join us to expose the hidden dangers inside your daily medicine cabinet.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our daily content. Now feel free to check out some of our newest and best videos currently showing on the screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.